Hey, welcome everyone. In this video, you will see all kinds of corrupt people who steal Nigerian people's money, the ones that are on the run, the ones that are in prison, and the ones that are still in office. Let's start with the most outrageous one, where millions of dollars in cash was taken from the treasury. Remember when $43 million was recovered in an apartment in Ikoyi in 2017? A lot of people do not know where that money came from. That money started its journey when the former NIA Director General Ayodele Oke sent a request to the then President Goodluck Jonathan to approve $289 million that the NIA will use to procure 13 items to enable the NIA respond to the nation's mounting diverse and complex security challenges. Jonathan didn't give an express approval because obviously he knew that the money wasn't budgeted for, so spending such amount of money would be illegal. But he minuted the then Minister of Petroleum Resources, Diezani, and sought assistance from the NNPC security votes. The NNPC, upon receiving communications, instructed the CBN to make the payment in cash to the NIA Director General. It was not clear where the NNPC got the authority to do that and why they chose to make the payment in cash instead of bank transfer. Anyway, the central bank complied and charged their transaction fee of $2.8 million. So the $43 million EFCC recovered in an apartment in Osborne Towers, Ikoyi, was the balance of a bigger amount. No one knows what the NIA did with the rest of the money before they warehoused the balance of $43 million. No one has been jailed for this. A court a few years ago issued an arrest warrant for the former NIA Director General and his wife. This is reminiscent of the Abacha years when he wheeled and stole millions of dollars in cash from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The first sign that revealed that the former Minister of Petroleum was involved in shady deals was when India reported to the Nigerian government that she sold a whopping $15 billion worth of crude oil to them through an agent instead of the normal government-to-government channel. This and many others shows the fraudulent oil swap deals that were conducted under her watch that cost Nigeria billions of dollars in lost earnings. One of the middlemen she used to sell Nigeria crude oil bought an $80 million luxury yacht, which was later seized and sold by the US authorities following a court order. So this explains it for those asking how she could steal such huge amounts of money. It runs into billions of dollars. A total of 1,620 properties seized from her were recently forfeited to the federal government. These properties include cars, vessels, and luxury homes that include 18 apartments and 6 penthouses in Bella Vista Towers, Banana Island, Ikoyi, worth about $37 million. Did Diezani have a car dealership? One would think she did, because a total of 589 vehicles were seized from her. What in the world will she be doing with some number of cars? Well, if she could buy $14 million worth of jewelry, that number of cars shouldn't be a surprise. According to the former EFCC acting chairman, Diezani stole up to $2.5 billion. And despite all the evidence they have, the extradition request made by Nigeria to get her to face trial has not been granted by the UK authorities. The extradition process has become cumbersome because she purchased a Dominican Republic citizenship. Her new country issued her a diplomatic passport and made her a trade and investment commissioner. This does not in any way excuse the UK authorities from extraditing her. The UK should not be seen as a place that harbors corrupt looters who steal money from their poor countries. Also, the Nigerian government should negotiate with the Dominican Republic to cancel her citizenship to make the process easier. Umar Ganduje, the current governor of Kano State, was caught on camera receiving worths of dollars from someone who seemed to be a contractor giving him his cut. Over-invoicing is a serious problem among politicians. The question is, why didn't Umar Ganduje resign? Why didn't the Kano State House of Assembly impeach him? Remember the late Alamesia, the former governor of Bayelsa State, when he was caught in London with millions of pounds in cash and he jumped bail and disguised as a lady to fly to Nigeria. He refused to resign his position as governor and the Bayelsa State House of Assembly had to impeach him so that he could face trial. Although that impeachment was done with a lot of pressure from the federal government, why didn't the Buhari administration apply the same type of pressure that Obasanjo used to make the Kano State House of Assembly to do the right thing? What evidence is better than a video? He was caught red-handed. There is nowhere in the world that this has happened. A politician caught red-handed on camera taking bribes and still in office since then. No one will take Nigeria seriously when we say that we're fighting corruption. James Ibori, the former governor of Delta State, succeeded in hiding his 1991 conviction for theft in the UK before becoming the governor in 1999. If his theft conviction in the UK had been known, he wouldn't have been eligible to contest for governor. In 2009, he also succeeded in getting about 170 charges of money laundering, theft, and corruption thrown out and acquitted by a judge in the Federal High Court, Asaba. In 2014, the judgment was overruled by the Appeal Court in Benin. It came late because the damage to the judiciary has already been done. Ibori was acquitted in Nigeria, but he was convicted in the UK. In the UK, Ibori admitted to 10 counts of conspiracy to defraud and money laundering. In contrast, he denied all charges in Nigeria, but paid a $15 million bribe to the then EFCC chairman Nuhu Ribadu to drop all the charges. Of course, he accepted the money as evidence. Recall that when police came to arrest Ibori in his O'Hara home in Delta State, a mob barricaded the roads and prevented the police from gaining access. These are the same people who Ibori stole and laundered their money. They've taken some change from him and turned themselves to his bodyguards. If everyone that a governor needs in order to steal money always demands a 50% cut, it will greatly reduce corruption, because when they are caught in the future, two of them will be facing the same number of years in prison. So why will one person get a higher cut of the stolen money? James Ibori, his wife, his sister, his mistress, and his lawyer all went to prison in the United Kingdom for their roles in laundering millions of dollars of Delta State funds to the UK. It is estimated that Ibori stole more than $250 million from Delta State during his time as governor. Still in Delta State, you remember this building in the abandoned high-rise towers video? Yeah, in case you didn't watch it, you can get the link in the video description. Dr. Ngozi Olejeme was the former chairman of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. It is alleged that under her management, 69 billion naira was misappropriated. The matter is already in court, that's why this one will be short. Also, a few years ago, a federal high court in Abuja ordered the forfeiture of 46 properties traced to Olejemoni, as she was called when she ran for the governorship primaries in Delta State. These properties are located in Abuja, Asaba, Enugu, and Bayelsa states. We'll be monitoring the court case and will surely be bringing you updates. When will we start seeing commensurate prison sentences from the courts? Abdul Rashid Maina was accused of stealing more than 2 billion naira from workers' pension. Many homes he bought in Dubai, America, and Nigeria were traced, and the Nigerian property is already forfeited. Many bank accounts that had unexplained millions of naira in them. For instance, investigators found cash deposits of 300 million naira, 500 million naira, and 1.5 billion naira in 2 bank accounts. He also paid $1.4 million cash for one Abuja property. There's another property he bought that is worth $2 million in Jabi area, Abuja. He was convicted on many counts, but unfortunately, all of them will run concurrently, so he will spend only 8 years in prison. Maybe that explains why he was laughing at the sentence. Who laughs after being sent to prison? He was obviously mocking the system. Also, the prison officials were scrambling for him because they know that he will still have some money left, that the investigators wouldn't have caught everything he stole, so he will have some money left that he will share in prison to get a fair treatment. There are many instances of corrupt people not getting commensurate prison sentences for stealing state funds. Take for instance the former governor of Edo State, Lucky Ibinedion, who was accused of stealing more than 1 billion naira, but surprisingly he made a plea bargain and the court sentenced him, but with an option of fine. The fine was even laughable, 3.5 million naira for stealing more than 1 billion naira. He was also told to refund only 500 million naira. So this kind of mediocre sentence meant he stole money and did a deal, refunded some and kept the balance. Although this happened more than 10 years ago, the 8-year sentence Maina received means that this kind of unfair prison sentences still exist today. Someone that stole billions of naira from pension funds that a lot of workers have been saving for years, he used that money to enrich himself and bought 50 cars in Dubai. Maina should have gotten more years to serve as a deterrent to others. Joshua Daire, the former governor of Plateau State, was impeached on November 13, 2006 by 5 members of the Plateau State House of Assembly. Although the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court later set aside his impeachment, the impeachment was done to force the trial of Daire. Having been arrested in 2004 in London with thousands of pounds in his possession, he was granted bail, but he jumped bail and fled to Nigeria. During his sentencing, the judge noted that Daire was at a point richer than Plateau State. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison for stealing and laundering 1.1 billion naira ecological fund meant for the state. The EFCC proved beyond reasonable doubt that Daire shared money from the ecological fund. He gave the former vice president Atiku Abubakar 100 million naira, 100 million naira each to the southwest and southeast zones of the PDP, 66 million naira to the Plateau State PDP, and 10 million naira to the late Ibrahim Mantu. He also gave an 80 million naira bribe to the permanent secretary of Ecological Fund Office to facilitate the release of the fund to him. The 100 million naira he gave to the PDP Southwest Zone was later returned to Plateau State government by Obasanjo. It is not clear if Atiku returned the money meant for the PDP Northeast. Daire used the rest of the money to buy choice properties in London. Daire became a Father Christmas using the Ecological Fund of Plateau State. While in prison, Daire continued to earn his salary as a senator, which brings us to Carlo, who also continued to earn his salary in prison. Ojuzo Carlo, the former governor of Abia State, always says that he was already a billionaire before he became governor in 1999, that he gave PDP 500 million naira as a grant during the early days. But as the saying goes, that the fact that someone is wealthy doesn't prevent him from taking what doesn't belong to him. Carlo, who is now a senator, had a long trial in court with a lot of delay orders and all sorts of tactics that lawyers use to frustrate trials. But ultimately, the court reached a guilty verdict on all 39 charges brought against Carlo. He was subsequently sentenced to 12 years in prison for the over 7 billion fraud he committed while he was governor of Abia State. Carlo had barely spent 6 months in prison when the Supreme Court voided his conviction and ordered a retrial. The court said that the judge who sentenced Carlo had been elevated to the Court of Appeal and had no business continuing with the trial. Carlo, having regained his freedom, went ahead to obtain a perpetual injunction from the Federal High Court in Abuja, restraining federal agents from retrying him. If an accused person that has pleaded not guilty in a trial is still running around to prevent the trial from going on, does it not signify that the person is guilty as charged? As they say, clear conscience fears no accusation. Talking about perpetual injunctions, Peter Odili has had one since 2007 when he left office as governor of Rivers State. The controversial injunction has prevented the federal authorities from bringing Odili to trial. Odili is alleged to have stolen billions of naira belonging to the people of Rivers State. What do you think, viewers? Shouldn't a perpetual injunction be illegal? Although the judge who issued the injunction was queried in 2009 by the National Judicial Council, but till today the injunction persists. The EFCC did not file an appeal on time, and it seems they haven't approached another court to set aside the injunction. Jolly Nyame was the former governor of Taraba State between 1999 and 2007. In 2018, he joined the shameful list of former governors who are in prison for stealing, diversion and laundering of public funds. He was convicted for fraudulently diverting 1.6 billion naira of Taraba State funds. One of the offenses he committed was his brazen diversion of 345 million naira to a company in a space of 5 weeks in 2005. The worst part of Jolly Nyame's corrupt enrichment was the fact that he knew that the EFCC was investigating him and still continued his brazen stealing. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, a verdict he appealed, but he must have regretted that appeal because the Court of Appeal added a fine of 495 million naira that he has to pay for his brazen misappropriation of Taraba State's funds. The Court of Appeal also reduced his prison term to 12 years. Jolly Nyame received a fair prison sentence that is commensurate to his crimes against his people. Kudos to some judges who are upright, and may they continue to uphold the law. The recent revelation by the ICPC chairman that 301 buildings were recovered from 2 civil servants in Abuja raises a huge concern on the fight against corruption and shows the level of greed and kleptomania that many people suffer. These unknown civil servants should be named and appropriate punishment given to them by the law courts to serve as a deterrent to others. Because if they weren't caught, maybe by now one person would have acquired more than 500 properties. Again, viewers, what do you think is the solution to the corruption? What should be done to permanently stop few people from stealing the people's money? Tell us in the comments. Should Nigeria go the Chinese way of dealing with corruption? Because it is appalling that a lot of people live in poverty while a few loot and steal the money is meant for the betterment of the people. In China, it is a capital offense when anyone corruptly enriches himself to the tune of $100,000. Should Nigeria enact such a law that might prevent people from stealing more than $100,000? Nigeria needs trillions of dollars to develop, and if corrupt individuals keep stealing funds meant for development, Nigeria may never be developed. We need to improve the fight against corruption by making executive offices less attractive. Most perks and allowances of executive office holders should be removed so as to attract only people that genuinely want to serve. Salaries of people in the front line, like security agencies, doctors, and the likes, should be increased to reduce corruption. The unexplained wealth order should be quickly approved to make it more difficult for people to corruptly enrich themselves. Thank you, wonderful viewers, for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more and enable notification. Bye bye.